Now I'd like to invite Jeff Moffa, CEO and President of Auros Knowledge Systems, and Jimmy Wroblewski, Release Coordinator for Auros, to take it away, gentlemen.
Thank you, Amy. Everybody can hear me? Yep, okay. I'm assisted here by Jimmy Wroblewski. We're going to talk about methods and team boards. This is the first of 3 advanced tracks. The second is going to be done by my colleague, Steve Boisvert, on knowledge connectors and CAD connection stuff. And the last one we're going to do is machine learning and AI. So you are currently in the first of the 3 in the advanced track. Welcome. I'm glad you guys decided to show up. This is going to be considerably less formal. And I think most of you that have signed up for advanced track are familiar with Auros. So we do, as Amy said, encourage asking questions on the fly. Amy will interrupt and we'll try to answer your questions as we go. All right, so let's jump in. So let's recap. Let me just get my PowerPoint working here. Jimmy, can you nod your head if the slide advanced for you? It did? Yep. Okay, here we go. So what are we going to try to learn today? In this first session, methods, capture, and activate process. Okay, methods just a kind of knowledge packet. It's what we call a core template. It's one of 4 core or 3 core templates that we got. So a method is a knowledge. It's a knowledge packet that captures process knowledge, right? And in a much higher order than you can in, say, a Visio diagram. Methods can contain other types of KPACs. That's an important capability of knowledge packets. You're going to see that a lot in this demo. Team boards, on the other hand, organize the knowledge-aware process. So Jeff Mayhew in the last presentation didn't mention team boards. They are just now starting their journey on the team board process. Hopefully that takes off. We'll see. But the team boards organize the knowledge-aware process in a bottom-up way, and hopefully you'll see that. And then lastly, methods can drive the team board process. So methods as technique and process can drive the process, this knowledge-aware process on the team board. So that may sound kind of convoluted, but I think you'll see it when we get into the demo. Okay, real quick, I'm going to show you some pictures. Oh no, polling question next. Let me go ahead and do that. Let's see how familiar people are with the topic at hand. I'm going to go over and click my first question. Brittany, can you activate this question? How familiar are you with team boards? So if you go to the right and click on the polling guy, not seeing any voting yet. Oh, there we go. We got one. Here we go. All righty. Thank you very much for voting. It's important because that way we can kind of understand the audience profile. There's not a lot of experience, which doesn't surprise me. I do believe that the team board process is going to grow very rapidly, but it's rather new, and actually Jimmy's been involved in improving the usability of methods and team boards in the last year, and I think they've come a long way. And hopefully we're going to start to see more people moving from C to B and B to A in the next year. Okay, that's very interesting. Thank you for voting. So real quick, this is a method. This is our customer engagement method for opportunity pursuit. We use this in our sales process. It's kind of the method and standard work we use to make sure our sales process is robust and that we can integrate new learning, new sales techniques, integrate new marketing collateral into our process in a way that ensures we're always putting our best foot forward. But again, it's a process, and it looks like a Visio diagram, but it's actually a model of the process. And there's plenty of room for creativity in this process, but the core hard points of what things we want to accomplish are identified in this process model. So this is a knowledge packet that represents the opportunity pursuit method for the Auros Knowledge Systems company. This is a team board, and we're looking at a team board. In the team board, you see these vertical slats, if you haven't seen one before, and each slat is a wall. So the metaphor is that it's a war room, and we have different bits of information dedicated on each wall. So we got a Gantt chart wall master assessment wall, assessments, issues, tasks, reports, files, overview. You can configure which ones are on and off and those kinds of things. But I started here because Auros team boards as a means to automate the knowledge aware technique is a very important idea. And one of the ways we do that is with this master method wall, and we're going to get into that, but basically it allows us to have a KPAC that describes the process, and that process is a logical model of the core hard points of what we're trying to do, the activity you're trying to do. In this case, release a piece of Auros software, but it could be a design review, it could be a verification of a system, a subsystem, the onboarding of a supplier. You know, what are the hard points in that process? You put them here, and then you allow the knowledge to be provisioned into this process where people encounter it, right? And that's kind of the point of this master method. And then it has this logical timing element that then can drive a bottom-up Gantt chart, and we're going to show you this live. This is our actual IQ5 release. Kanban boards, these are the assessments. This is also the assessments done on our IQ5 release. So there's a Kanban board for assessments. There's a Kanban board for issues, all specific to the team and the team board's activities. There's a task wall I'll show you. There's a customizable report wall where you can pin reports and track KPIs. We're going to show it to you live. So let's get into the demonstration. I'm going to ask my colleague Jimmy Wroblewski to share, and we're going to together kind of walk you through this. All right, looks like Jimmy's ready to go. So the first thing we have is a Kanban board of team boards themselves. So you're looking at these projects are specifically team boards. And so Jimmy currently has them in a short card view. So Jimmy, do you mind switching them over into the tall card view? So let's say you're working on multiple projects. You would then log into Auros and you would see the team board projects that you're invited to. So Jimmy's got a series of IQ release projects. By the way, guys, this is all real data. This is our software factory. Here it is. These are our 5 ongoing release projects. We finished IQ2. IQ3 is basically finished. It is finished. 4 is in wrap up. 5 is being released. Our mobile project and we're in some kind of planning phase in IQ6. Correct, Jimmy? Yep. Okay, so now what we're going to do is we're going to add to these cards that represent the team boards. We're going to go into the team board in a second, but we're going to go ahead and display one of the KPIs from many KPIs on the card. So you can set up these KPIs. We have different little point-and-click configurators of KPIs, and Jimmy has picked, it's which KPI? Oh yeah, total issue count. So there's a KPI that gets trended for the total issues. Basically, these are units of work in terms of issues. They could be like defects, it could be like enhancements, it could be lots of different things. But they're units of work that are going to be coded into a release. And you can see that the KPI is placed onto the card, summary view, so you can see that across the projects. And you don't have to do it here, Jimmy, but you can click on the little trend icon and see the trend over time. And you can also see that the green bar tells us that the KPI is currently in a green state. So summary view across projects, you pick the KPI, you can see them. Now what we're going to do, any questions so far, feel free to type them in. So this is what we call portfolio view, and we're looking at lots of team boards at once. Jimmy, were we going to go into the issue aging at all report? No. We are? No, you don't want to go into issue aging. We can go into a bunch of other consolidated. Oh yeah, so now we're going to go into consolidated Gantt. So what we want to do now is also look at across all these projects. So what you're seeing now is, let's say I was on these projects, I can see the consolidated timing. No one had to generate this. No one had to consolidate this report. Auros is doing it for you. It's going into each of the team boards, consolidating up that Gantt chart from the bottom up timing. And Jimmy, if you kind of can expand on maybe IQ, one of the projects, we can see, okay, the IQ5 project has these phases, and in phase 4, we're green to the beta sprint complete, yellow to the branching ready, and green to the code, my eyes are getting a little bad, code branching complete. So we made up a little time and we completed that. So you can kind of drill down across any projects that you have access to. So this is what we call a consolidated report, and we got a bunch of good, cool consolidated reports on issues as well. So if you're a member of many team boards, you can get these consolidated views. So now what we're going to do, Jimmy, if I'm right, is we're going to go into a specific team board. So we're opening the IQ5 team board, and Jimmy's open to the Gantt chart. Now the Gantt chart is really cool because what we do, Jimmy, help me out. Jimmy's like the master. He's our Scrum quarterback, so to speak, Scrum leader, amongst other things, and he manages kind of the activities in the software process. So Jimmy, the way it works is we put in our release date and it goes backwards. Oh, oh, we can hear you. Oh, all right. So anyway, we put in a certain number of dates and all the dates get computed based on our method. So Jimmy, if we go back and now kind of slide over to the master assessment. So we have phases of our process. So there's a planning phase, you can see an alpha sprint, beta sprint, pre-RC, which are made up of sub-sprints. But within each of these phases, there's a logical model of our process. And the logical model has key gateways in it and key decision points. And those dates are all driven by our model of our process. So when you go back to the Gantt chart, so if we go back to the Gantt chart, what's here is a derivative of the plan that gets executed, and it reacts to the changing inputs. So we don't have to create a new plan every time. Basically, we create the master assessment, and the plan gets derived from that logical model, which is a method KPAC. So when I talk about the team board implements knowledge aware or automates the knowledge aware process, what do we want to do? We want to provision knowledge and activate it. So when we go back to kind of skipping back and forth here, this is a view of the provisioned knowledge. And if we go back, so the assessments can show up here, issues can show up here if they have due dates. But if we go back to the master assessment, the process model itself has all the standard work and key metrics embedded. So Jimmy, let's take a look at, on my glasses here, people. Let's go ahead and look at the pre-branching activities assessment. Can you hover over the icon? So there were 6 key activities to make that happen. They are all complete, or no, excuse me, 5 out of 6 are complete. Jimmy, if you just mouse over the pie chart, you see, 5 of the 6 are complete. And so when we get to this step, work or best practices or lessons from others can show up here as part of this assessment through this provisioning process. So the assessment is acting as a magnet to pull in the knowledge of others, experiences of others, to make it in the flow of work so that we always know the best way to branch the code. So Jimmy, if you open the assessment up, so as we get to this step, we just open it up, and all the work and best practices of others to get this thing done show up as a more basic assessment, right? And then as we complete it, it tells us whether we're red or green to the step. This is a very basic kind of idea. It can be much more integrated, much more complex, but this branching logic thing is fairly straightforward. Okay, so let's close this. Jimmy, can we visit maybe a different step? Let's go to the planning phase, for example. Yeah. So the planning phase is pretty straightforward, but you see it's the same thing, the idea of timing, some basic block diagram of the process, and then the standard work or the things that we want to do or things we want to remember to do or change how we do it are contained in the assessments, and that's all flowing into the process in an automated, provisioned way, right? And so if you ever have a process you want to knowledge enable, right, to have the 4 steps, capture and structure, provision, activate, and learn. So the process, will be captured in a knowledge packet. So that's part of the capture. Then other knowledge capture gets provisioned based on these assessments into the process, into these steps. Then it's activated when we open up those assessments and process them so that we can communicate with all the stakeholders that their consideration was made, not made, what did we do with it, how long did it take us. Then we can use that data then to drive learning. So this kind of technique automates the knowledge aware process. Jimmy, let's take one last look at the maybe the pre-RC. one key part of our process, we call these things throttle points, and we need to make a key decision on whether we're going to go to level 2 code freeze. So Jimmy, can we open that up and show everybody what that is? So there's a bunch of key metric knowledge packets that flow to this particular process, and we KPI these parameters of the process, and they evaluate themselves. And we can't go through this throttle point until all these things turn green. Basically, they're like number of open issues, number of coded issues, number of priority 3 issues. You can kind of see what's going on here. We successfully met the throttle point threshold and allowed us to, or it allows us to visually know we're ready to move on to the next step. I'm going pretty fast here, guys. Is there any questions? Anybody want to ask a question at this point? Feel free to type it in.
Yeah, I think Misty had one, but I think that Nicole answered it. What did short versus long view do? And she said it made the cards larger, more information to be seen. Yeah,
we found that that a lot of people like the short view, but then we can't put additional information on like KPIs and pie charts and things like that. So the tall card, you know, is nice when you have a fewer projects and you're in a Kanban board with lots of issues or lots of assessments. But if you have a few of them, it's nice to have the tall cards because then you can place more information on the card, more summary information, more direct information. Yeah, it's just it's a preference thing, really.
Okay, and just a heads up, we have about 8 minutes left. So if anyone does have other questions, please type away.
Okay.
Yeah.
Jimmy, let's go ahead and move. Oh, you got another question?
Yeah, Joe is asking, can a method be flexible enough to handle redesign where you need to go back a step?
Oh yeah. This particular one, Jimmy, can you? Is there anything in the software factory that demonstrates that? I know we have that in the sales methodology and a couple other ones. That none of that has flowbacks, but you can have a decision point that says nope, go back, and it can track that. It'll even we even have ways of tracking whether or not you went through a non-standard method flow through the process. But yes, loopbacks are entirely possible.
And 2 more questions, guys. So Susan is asking, what's the difference between the square and triangle flag checkpoint?
Great question. I love it.
Yay.
So that's new in Jimmy IQ5. Okay. Yep. So introduced in the IQ5 is the notion of dependent and independent, what we call checkpoints. These are timing events inside your logical plan, and the square ones indicate an independent timing event, and the triangle ones indicate a dependent. So if there's a triangle one, it's being driven from either another triangle one or a square one, basically is what it is. So visually, you know, Jimmy, if you double click on this triangle one, so basically this checkpoint is being driven as a delay 21 days after beta start complete. So or it's the other way around, right? Yeah, so branching ready should be 21 days after beta sprint complete.
Okay.
So it's just a matter of dependent and independent timing.
Good.
That's a great question.
Yeah, Jeff Mayhew says, good stuff. Have you ever considered letting users, COP admins, create their own team boards, or will this stay overall admin?
Another great question. No, it will not stay overall admin. We purposely, you know, as we started to learn how customers and ourselves use team boards, we are the huge lover of our own team boards. We use them for everything. And we wanted to be restrictive in how they were created at first. And we always had intended to start to allow them to be created through different models. Jeff, I think, you know, we have a mechanism to do it, an automated process to say when a new project is created, these 5 team boards, these 100 team boards will be created and automate that process. But I do think in the very near future that an admin will be able to create them individually. Yes, we will do that.
Okay. And David is asking, do you have an example of a team board that's used by management for a quick 10K view?
Yeah, the consolidated view is the one that we have. We've also seen people consolidate a team board with just the reports wall. that allow you to pin reports for managers, and the managers go and they just see the reports. So if you go back to the portfolio view, so this is a portfolio view of projects, and we have managers that come in to see which projects are still active. Here they are, and it is a report. Say, Jimmy, maybe these are all release projects, but maybe you undo the swim lane filter and have maybe add a different kind of project. Yeah. Now, it's a report to see projects by project type. And so you get to see that. And now when he goes to the consolidated Gantt or the KPIs, he's kind of seeing reports across these team boards. So there's two different levels that I see managers using this data. One is this portfolio view, in essence, allows them to organize and visualize data about the projects. And then when you go to the consolidated reports, Jimmy, if you open those up, this builds the consolidated timing charts from all of those projects bottom up, right? Jimmy just added different project types. So it's a little different than the last time he ran it because he added a different set of project types. And then if we go to the issue summary report, it's a very strong set of issue reporting reports that all have drill down. So you can run a whole bunch of different kinds of issue aging reports to find out where the open issues are and how old they are, how long they're staying in each phase. All that stuff is available through this consolidated report. Excellent question.
Good. I think I've gotten through all the questions. Okay. If I missed yours, please send me a quick note. Let's see. Nicole has just said, a few years ago, I thought you showed a method with a picture in the background. Think knowledge set over an area of a part. Is that possible, or is flowchart the only type we can create?
No, you can add an image in the back, and the flowchart it's just like you see here, except for there's an image in the background. Okay. We used to call those pick maps, and we had a separate KPAC type for them. Now it's just a method where the background of the flowchart model is an image.
Okay.
So Jimmy, if we can, real quick, let's just, because it'll only take a second, let's go to the assessments Kanban wall. I don't know if people are familiar with Kanban boards, but basically you can grab one of these cards, move it around, change its attributes by simply moving it. If you grab the edge, Jimmy, just grab one of these and kind of pick it up and you move them. You don't have to do it. We can visualize what's happening inside the assessment with the pie chart, and we can obviously open it up for here. The swim lanes filter and the status filter help us, kind of visualize the Kanban in different categories, typical of Kanban boards. So all the assessments that the team owns can be visualized and manipulated through this Kanban board. Same thing for issues. Jimmy, you want to go over to the issues one? Jimmy's got this one set up on the short cards. But again, we can see, the work in progress, all the closed issues, and we can kind of, see how many are in each stage, open them up and change their status by drag and drop. And lastly, since we're kind of running out of time, I'm going to get to the reports wall. We'll miss the rest of them. So the reports wall is basically a wall that the team can pin different reports to share with the team members, as well as to visualize the KPIs. So we have quite a few KPIs in our software factory. So they can be like counts of assessments, counts of issues, different parameters can be KPI'd, and when they're KPI'd, they're trended. So Jimmy, maybe open up one of the KPIs. So here we have the blue is the KPI trend for this project. In this case, it is total issue count. So you can see the number of issues against this project, or even sub-project or sub-project, increasing over time. And then we've got a goal, a target trend of total issue count, or actually in this case, it's just a reference that is the previous project. So you can have mins and maxes and tolerances and reference trends, so that the trend that we're tracking, the blue one, it has more meaning given other trends and other data. So it's a true KPI mechanism that allows you to track a piece of data, see what's happening over time, and compare it to other pieces of data. Right? And so we want to know how many issues we're raising on each release project and compare them to past release projects and give upper and lower bounds for what's acceptable, and all that is configurable point and click in the KPI ribbon. So we have a number of these configured for the software factory process, and those are visualized in this black region that are called the KPI region. Okay, we're really out of time, so anything else? Any other questions?
No, but what I did find out is I posted the survey link, and apparently it's a matter of copying and pasting it into your browser. Sorry about that. It doesn't appear to be clickable. So that may be the issues that folks were having with that. So that's in your chat window right now. I think we got a final question, but I know we've got to pop over to our next breakout at 3:20.
I'll answer that one separately. So
okay. Yeah, as always, you can reach out. Perfect. Thanks so much. So our next breakout, that's great. Yep. Our next breakout does start at 2:50. It's going to be with Steve Boisvert, Knowledge Aware Consultant at Auros, on connectors and automated rule processing. That's for the advanced track. So see you over there. Thanks, everyone.
thank you.
Thanks.